Hello everyone. Hi, I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to another series of the comparison of especially with data transfer. This is a continuation of last week's comparison where we had compared the data transfer options in cloud and how to do the calculation of those. So this one specifically focuses on Azure data transfer. Without further ado, let's get started. So this is the agenda that I have for today. It'll be a short video compared to the earlier ones where we'll go over the data transfer options in Azure. And this is where I put together what are the options, which is the data box is one of the option, data factory. I'll go over each one and file sync, blob storage. And then I'll have an website providing the comparison and what is the use case of when to use which one. And finally, the conclusion. So without further ado, let's get into the data box. Now, what is the data transfer option here? Which is that we have data box. What is data box? Data box is a secure, ruggedized appliance for offline data transfer, especially when moving large volumes of data to Azure and when there is network constraint. Now, this applies mainly to file size of more than 100 terabytes. I had shown the calculator earlier last video. If you haven't seen that, please feel free to check the link below. But this is where you will be able to do the calculation, and based on that you'll be able to understand that okay, this is primordially about 75 terabyte to 100 terabyte, more than that. It is expensive, it is not a cheap service, and also they will be shipping the data in ruggedized like a suitcase, and box will be there and they'll be shipping the data in there. Now there is a similar service which is import export service that used to be there, wherein it'll be shipping the disks, the disk size to Azure, and it is kind of similar, but it's now sort of like clubbed together. There's not much difference, which is why I just put it together. Import, export, and Azure Data Box. So let me show you what this really is in Azure. I won't be able to show you much here because this is again another option. So let me go here. Even if I search, say, import, export, right? Even if I search, there'll only be one option here, which is like a data box, because now Azure has clubbed it together. So that is what you could see. You could come here, you could give data box. And what you'll have to do is you'd have to apply for this, because Azure will need to know, okay, when they need to ship and what is the data they need transferring, which region it is. Again, those country governance laws will kind of come in. But this is where you will have to create this data box setup. And if you see here, what is usually mainly the use cases that you import to Azure, unless there is a requirement that the customer wants to move the data out from Azure. But this is where you would choose import to Azure. You will provide the subscription, which subscription you want to do. In this case, I just have one subscription. What is the resource group? I will just choose the dev resources in which the data, what the storage account which the data resides. What is the country here? I'll just give USA. And what is the destination Azure region? I'll just choose it as East US. Now, when I do this apply, what I will see is the comparison, different comparison options that I will be seeing. Now, as you can see, right, the thing is not available for the selected subscription type. And this is where you'll be able to provide this, like you'll be able to send a request to the operations team. You'll be able to open a support ticket. And based upon the inputs provided with them, you'll have to coordinate with them on how exactly the data will have to be transferred. But if you see here, you have three options. You have data box disk, you have data box, and you have data box heavy. What is data box disk is? It's ideally suited for 30 terabyte per order. Data box is for 80 terabyte, while heavy is for 800 terabyte or close to 1 petabyte of data. Now, this is where you will see further comparison. With data box disk, it has up to 5 disks per order, and the data box itself has 10 days use at no extra cost, where you can have this capacity. And data box heavy is 20 days use at no extra cost you can get. And now data box disk, it supports blobs files where the data will need to be transferred to what other storage it could do. You have blobs files, so just keep this in mind when choosing the required option. And then you have data box as well to support all these options, blob files, managed disks, and Gen2 accounts. Similarly over here. And there's storage that could copy data to what you can copy in for data box disk to one storage account. While in data box, you'd copy the data across 10 storage accounts, because it could very well be that you have different storage accounts and you want to transfer the data at one shot. So this is where it becomes very important to choose the right selection here. And then similarly, data box heavy as well. You can copy data across 10 different storage accounts. And what is the technology used? The data box that uses the SATA interface. The data box that uses the gigabyte 1 by 1 by 10 gigabytes interface. And then the data box heavy is 4 by 1 gigabytes and then 4 by 40 gigabytes interface. What this provides is the speed at which the data can be transferred. Obviously, larger the one it is, the gigabyte speed, the better your transfer copy speed would be. And what is the pricing? You can refer the pricing here, but essentially this will be able to provide you more input. Now, what is the 1 terabyte here? The option that you will see it, you can send the disks. And this is where I was saying it is Azure has now clubbed it together in one, where we have one option to transfer the data. And as you can send 10 disks, you have the SATA and SSD disks, and these are hard disks again. It is not like the different, right, where you can ship it. So, and then you have the data through one storage account. You have a TUSD handling fee per disk. The number of disks are more, the size the cost is going to be increasing as well. So here, if I just choose, because this is the only option available for these ones, I will have to open a case and work with them to send the appliance, which is the suitcase which comes and will take the data is very secure. There's no issues in that, but just you will have to be aware of this. If I do select, I can provide further information on what exactly is the job name. I can provide job details. What is the storage account it needs to be moved to? What are the files over here? And this in the security, if I come, what is the different security option? And if I return shipping, what is the carrier I would need to choose for return shipping? I would need to provide all those details. And once I do that, I can review and create. And this is something you can do yourself. You don't need to open a support, because what this is that you are going to be shipping your disks. Unlike Azure, where unlike a data box, which is going to be coming, the appliance is going to be coming and taking data, this is shipping the disk. So I hope this clarifies what is the data box and import-export option, and I'll go to the next one, which is the file sync option. Now, what is file sync? It synchronizes the files across Azure file shares and on-premises Windows servers or a centralized file servers in Azure. Now, this is a keyword, centralized, where you have different storage, like if you have an on-prem data center, and you have different locations that are there. So what you could do, you could use file sync, which will consolidate data from all these different locations and then put the data into a shared common centralized location that is there in Azure. So let me show you how this is going to be as well. I'll kind of just show you the setup here. Now you see this is in Marketplace, but actually this is an Azure service only. It's not a Marketplace option. So yes, I want to discard it. And this is where I can come in, Azure File Sync. Now as you can see here as well, this is a combination of Azure file shares, allowing you to centralize the organization's file shares in Azure while keeping the flexibility, performance, and compatibility of an on-premises file server. So something for you to consider, and what exactly we can go about it. Now, this is the subscription you choose. You choose what is the vision you want to use. You provide the networks. Now, this is when you choose the tiering. I'll create another video on what are the different tiering mechanisms in Azure, and you will have to choose that. Ideally, most organizations want to, especially for production, they want to have private endpoints. So this is, again, you'll have to just check, but this will be a much more higher cost compared to all networks option. So you provide the tags, you provide the review and create, and that is where you'll be able to set up the Azure File Sync, which will be able to consolidate, have a centralized disk location for your setup. And now the other one I will just go into is I missed the Azure Data Factory, but I'll quickly cover it. Azure Data Factory is nothing but a pipeline. It's a data pipeline which you can transfer data, not only from on-prem, but different sources. It could be a batch and streaming methodology, and it could move the data. You could process the data while moving and move it to different storage accounts such as blob or queues. You can, n number of options are there, or even like says database, you can move it to there. And now this is where you can have an option of you could use command line utilities like easy copy or other setup that could be used. And this is the Data Factory. It offers high performance, secure, and scalable options to transfer data to blob storage, including server-side synchronization capabilities. Now, if I have to show you this over here, this is what Data Factory. I could choose here. Now, this is going to be pipeline. Again, just keep in mind. And you could, again, create a Data Factory here. I could choose this option, Data Factory. And I'll be able to see what is the subscription, the resource group. I'll provide the name of the instance, the region, the version, and what is the Git configuration. Basically, you could have the Data Factory configured with Git to allow whenever the job gets triggered or whenever the code gets changed, you would always have that option to integrate with Git. You can have networking. What is the default networking setup you can have with it? And this is where, again, you will have a private or a public endpoint as part of the setup. And then advanced, what are the different options out here? And of course the tags, and then you can create the setup. Now this is especially useful for data replication scenarios which have batch and streaming option. Please put in the comment if you want to have a video of any of these different services that are there, and I can create one for you. And now moving forward, what is a data share? Basically, like data provides a simple and safe service for sharing big data with external organizations supporting a range of data sources. What are the different options out here? We have like easy copy, which is like a command line utility to transfer the data from to cloud. And then also you have SDKs and you have other API-based mechanisms that you can use to transfer the data. Azure Site Recovery, or ASR also popularly called, it's applicable, not ideally, but it's like for a disaster recovery scenario when you do, but a lot of organizations also do it for backup and for business continuity as well. And what it does is it's essentially it'll ensure business continuity by keeping the business apps and workloads running during outages with data replication, failover, and recovery capabilities. If I have to show you here your site replication, right? So I wouldn't be able to write site recovery actually. So this is the option I could choose here. This requires the setup of the agent and other things that are here. So now this is from the marketplace, but this is where one can go and see how the site recovery option can be. This is where, right? So this is the recovery service vault. So out here you could choose, and like this is the backup and site recovery, different options which are there that one can choose. Now this is the recovery services vault that could be looked into, and how you can go and configure at the on-premise. What is the setup required? It requires an agent running on-prem and as well as on Azure, based on which the data can be transferred. So I hope this provides a good comparison about the different options, and also based upon the service, how it is done. So I hope this is helpful. So I'll now get into the comparison, when to use which one and what is the use case that is there. Now for the data volume, the data box is ideally suited for something which is larger than 100 terabytes, and even the import-export service, because if you have low network speed, then this is ideally kicks in. But if you have good internet bandwidth and you can transfer, like say around data in terabytes over the internet, then you're better off just doing it over the internet. And of course, do work with your networking team to ensure that your data transfer is not clogging the other application's network. Data Factory. The reason I put it for data from low to high volume, because this could be batch or streaming option, where you could transfer data real time, which is streaming, and batches like it to be done based upon a need basis. That is when you will need to consider the Data Factory option. File sync, as I said, it is for centralized file synchronization, and it is for low to high volume again, where you want to have it centralized. For high, for more than like 100 terabytes, you may want to look into other options that are there. And also like Azure Blob Storage Transfer, which is AZ copy, as well as also there are other options that is like SDK and APIs. You can do large volumes of transfer, but again, this you'll have to write a script, or you'll have to have reusable transfers to ensure that you don't keep running into, like say there's a disconnection happens. You don't need to again do it start from scratch. Which you need to do reusable transfers. The transfer speed, again, data box is offline. It'll come in a suitcase, so there's no transfer speed applicable here. Data Factory is going to be based upon network usage, where you're going to be transferring the data over the network. So the network speed is going to determine the rate of transfer and the rate of processing. Likewise, file sync as well is going to be network based. What is your data transfer synchronization that happens? And likewise, AZ copy as well. It happens over the internet. What is the use case for data transfer comparison? Essentially, it's a massive one-time data migration where you want to move the data from you're migrating a data center to Azure. You're better off using, and your organization has a lot of, like say, more than 30 terabyte of data. You're better off using the data box or import-export job. For Data Factory, it is mainly for ETL, ELT pipelines that you want to continuously move the data from on-prem to Azure based upon certain requirements. Or it doesn't need to be even on-prem to Azure. It could be just from Azure to Azure. You want to move the data and you need to have the different thing, or it could be from Azure to AWS or vice versa. That is when you will use a ETL pipeline. In this case, it is Data Factory. Now, file synchronization, it's used for syncing file across global offices to a centralized location, right? So I don't think it gets any explanatory than that. And AZ copy it is. You optimize the transfer to or from Azure Blob Storage. Now, security, each one is very secure. I don't think there's any issue with security. But the only thing is, data box, it is a physical shipment. You will ship your data. Somebody's going to take your data, and they'll be importing the data to Azure. That is the only difference. While the other ones, they're transferred over the internet, you will, of course, have a VPN over the internet, and it'll have full security. There will not be any issues in that. Cost, it's going to be, data box is going to be high upfront cost compared to sending over the internet. And there's a device rental cost as well, as I showed you. So do keep in mind when you are considering this service, it's not only that data will be take a long time, like 7 to 10 days, that there's going to be high cost as well. Data Factory, it is pay-as-you-go model. And again, it's based upon the internet. Data transfer speed is not charged because you just pay for the one time to the internet provider. And then you have the based upon the data load that you keep processing out here. And a lot of like services that are there, they also use express route to transfer the data instead of over the internet. So that should really help improve your network transfer speed. What is file sync? Again, it is over the internet, so there's no changes. And easy copy, again, it is over the internet, and there is the data import cost. There is no other cost that is associated. Now, integration or data box, there's no integration, it's just a physical appliance that turned. So while Data Factory, there is a lot of integration with different services that are there. It has a lot of adapters with different databases. And even for the other legacy applications, you also have the luxury of writing code. So you won't have any issues with integration with Data Factory. Likewise, file sync, this is especially for Windows Server. So this is, again, you need to consider in mind, if you have Windows Server, you want to have a centralized location, file sync is a good option for you. Easy copy, it's again, right, there's a lot of integration options, what those storage accounts it integrates with. One of them is Blob. It could have multiple options, depends on the script that you want to write. Again, since you're writing code, you'll have a lot more flexibility in what you can do. The scalability, it's again like what amount of data you want to transfer, whether you want to have one data box or you want to have multiple. That is where I put it. It's fixed by device capacity. And Data Factory, it's going to be highly scalable because it's for ETL pipeline, which are known to be for multiple scalability options out there. And likewise, file sync as well, it's right based upon for the Windows disks that you want to transfer the data, it's very much scalable. And easy copy, again, it's a CLI option, so it could be based upon the code, it'll be very highly scalable. What is the management complexity? I put in for data box, it is medium to high because, again, you'll have to work with support. You'll have to coordinate see what is the logistics for moving the data, as well as consider the cost part. That is what you'll have to look into. While Data Factory, it is medium. Right, because again, it's not your issues of shipping the data. It is based on the code that you write. And likewise, file sync is very seamless service. There is going to be no issues, which is why I put it medium. Also, easy copy I just put low to medium because again, it's going to be code and sending data over the internet. So I hope this provides a good overview on which Azure service you could use to transfer the data. And you are able to make the right decision and know of the multiple options, especially in Azure, that you can use to transfer the data. So please like, subscribe this channel, and drop in your comment on what other videos you want to see next, and if anything as part of this slide that you want to see. So have a good day, and we'll see you in the next video.